What is up, mathletes? Welcome back to the episode of Math with Dr. Math. And today we're going to be solving those level 2 rational equations. Don't go anywhere. Alright, mathletes, so let's solve these rational equations. And I have the steps right behind me here. And why do I call them level 2 rational equations? Well, these are rational equations that when you get rid of the fraction, right? When you get rid of those fractions, what you're going to end up with is most likely a quadratic equation, all right? And remember, when you end up with a quadratic equation, that's when we go ahead and set an equation equal to 0, and then we solve by factoring or the quadratic formula. But today, let's focus on factoring. All right, so let's dive in here. And here are the steps that we're going to be looking at when we're solving these rational equations. And this is for those of you that like steps. I'm not too much of a step guy. I'm more of a rationale, where I like to think about the process and what makes sense, right? But if you're a step person, what you're going to be doing is factoring all your denominators. The numerators, leave them alone. Don't touch them. Then you're going to find your LCD. And what you're going to do with that LCD is you're going to multiply everything by the LCD. Everything must go. And what that's going to leave you is with an equation that no longer has fractions. And then, of course, at the end, we got to check our answers to make sure they work. All right, so let's dive in here and let's look at some examples. All right, so number 1. This is a rational equation, and what's huge is being able to identify it's a rational equation. So here we have fractions, and that's your big hitter. That's telling you I have a rational equation here, and it's the equation, right? Why does that help us? Well, when you recognize this, then you have a plan of attack, right? And so much of math is being able to recognize what type of problem you have, because once you're able to recognize what type of problem you have, then we have a plan of attack that makes things easier. Is it the only way? Absolutely not, but it makes things easier. All right, so what we said is we factor everything in the denominators. We don't need to do that here. We find our LCD, and our LCD here we see is x squared, all right? And check out some of our other videos to help you if you need practice finding the LCD, all right? So what do we do with that LCD? Well, what we're going to do is we're going to take our original equation and we're going to multiply everything, right, by that x squared, which is our LCD here. All right. And so I'm going to take every single one of those fractions and I'm going to multiply it by the LCD. So as we're writing this out, what I want you guys to think about is, why are we doing this, right? Don't just do this because, oh, Dr. Matt told me or your teacher told you. Why are we doing this, right? That's a huge part of the picture. Well, look what's going to happen. What's going to happen with that x squared and that x squared? Bam, they cancel out. Perfect. And because they cancel out, right, so one of these x's will cancel with that x, and over here, nothing cancels for that first piece, right? And when I rewrite this, we no longer have fractions, which makes this way easier, right? And again, you always want to do things just to make life easier, all right? And so if it's not making it easier, don't do it. So let's go ahead and rewrite what we have. So we have 3x here, and that equals 28. So again, we want to be organized so you're not walking around lost. Kind of reminds me of that one time where I lost my car keys. Can anyone see my car keys? No? Anyone? Car keys? No? Right, we don't want to end up in that situation. So here we go. All right, notice our fractions are gone. So now we have a quadratic. What do you mean a quadratic? You have something raised to the second power, right? Something's being squared. So what we want to do here is, since I have a quadratic, we set one side equal to 0. So I'm going to move that 28 to the other side. So minus 28, minus 28. All right, so we subtract 28 from both sides, and you get x squared plus 3x minus 28, and that equals 0. All right, and now we factor this. So we're looking for two numbers in this case that multiply to give me negative 28 and add up to positive 3. So we're going to go with x, and our two numbers are going to be positive 7, right, and negative 4, because 7 times negative 4 gives me that negative 28, and then when I add those two, 7 and negative 4, that gives me this 3 right here. All right, and I have a video linked at the end of this video, right, where if you need more practice with factoring, we got you here in Dr. Math Studios, right? And so what do we do now? Well, we have two factors and it's equal to 0, so we're going to set each one of those mother factors equal to 0. So let me write it over here. So x plus 7, set that equal to 0. We're going to solve that, and x minus 4, set that equal to 0. So we're going to go ahead and subtract 7 from both sides. So we get x equals negative 7. And then we're going to add 4 to both sides, and we're going to get x equals 4. So in this case, both our solutions here, I should say, are negative 7, and that's messy. Let's do that again, and 4. All right, and we want to plug those back in, and I did that for you, and they do work. All right, so again, let's kind of do a little rewind before we do another example. You find that LCD, boom, multiply everything by it so that we can get rid of the fractions, and hopefully this looks familiar. Have we seen quadratics before? Absolutely. All right, are we good? Making sense? All right, follow me to the next example. All right, example 2, mathletes. The most important part I have to say is smashing that like button, because we gotta reach a bigger audience. We need your comments, we need your likes. Where's my thumbs up crew? Right? We need to reach a bigger audience here, because there's a lot of mathletes that need help today. And when you do that, that helps YouTube send out a distress signal to all the Dr. Mathletes around the world saying Dr. Math is here for you. So do us that favor, please. All right, it takes a lot of time to make these videos, so we appreciate you. All right, so first thing we do is factor the denominators if possible. So here we could factor this denominator. So let's do that. 36 and p squared minus 9, that's p minus 3 and p plus 3. All right, that's the difference of squares. Again, at the end of the video, I'm gonna have a factoring video linked to help you out in case you need that help. All right, I can't factor anything else, so I'm just gonna drop it like it's hot. All right, I got this, copy it down, got this, copy it down, nothing happened there. What's my LCD, right? So it's very important you know how to find that LCD. So we got resources for everybody, right? So it's just like a puzzle. You need to put all these pieces together, or else these problems are gonna be a pain in the... They're gonna beat me out. A pain in the butt, right? So again, it's all these little things that add up to the big picture. So our LCD is p minus 3 and p plus 3. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna multiply everything, right? Every single thing, boom, 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 by p minus 3 and p plus 3. All right, so let's go ahead and do that. So we got a p, that's not a pen, that's an imposter. P minus 3 and p plus 3, we're gonna multiply that by 36, our first fraction, p minus 3, p plus 3, right, equals 2p, p plus 3. We said we're gonna multiply that by the LCD, p minus 3, p plus 3. And notice, it doesn't matter if you have it on the left-hand side or the right-hand side, it's the same thing, right? And then minus 1 times p plus 3 and p minus 3. All right, so now let's go through and ask yourself, why did we do that? Again, you want to cancel things, right? So this p minus 3, be gone, right? It's gone. This p plus 3, it's gone. All right, over here on the right hand side, that p plus 3's, they're gone. And now all we have to do is distribute. but be very careful when you distribute. There's so much room here to make mistakes. So you gotta be careful, all right? You have to, all right? If you're not careful, you're gonna end up like this guy. All right, so watch out. So we get 2p, p minus 3, and then minus p. I'm going to go ahead and distribute all this right here. I'm going to distribute all that, but I'm going to keep it in parentheses, and I'll distribute that negative at the end. All right, does that make sense? So again, I'm going to distribute all this for you and put it in parentheses. So I'll get p squared minus 3p plus 3p minus 9 in parentheses. And of course, these will cancel because one's negative and one's positive, right? But if you want to do that in scratch work, that's a good idea. All right, so let's go ahead and distribute. Let me distribute that 2p. And so let's see what we're left with, Dr. Math. We got 36 equals 2p squared minus 6p minus p squared plus 9, right? So now all we're gonna do is move things around, combine like terms, all right? So that, again, I want to set one side equal to 0. Does it matter what side is equal to 0? Absolutely not, right? Why do we set it equal to 0? Exactly, it's a quadratic equation. We want to set it equal to 0 so that you could either factor it, that's what I'll do right now, or use that quadratic formula, right? And again, we have the videos, we got your back, right? All we ask is you do us a favor, smash that like button, because again, we got to get our subscriptions up because we got big plans for folks, right? So we're going to go ahead and boom, subtract 36 from both sides. And so now on my left hand side, I got the 0 that I've been waiting for, right? My whole life. And we got p squared minus p squared. 2p squared minus p squared, I should say. So 2p squared minus p squared equals p squared minus 6p. And then my 9 minus 36 gives us that negative 27. All right, now we're looking into factoring this right here. Notice our leading coefficient is 1. So give me two numbers that multiply to give me negative 27 and add up to negative 6. So hopefully you're saying negative 9 and positive 3, right? So let's factor this. And so we get 0 equals p minus 9 and p plus 3. And some of you are like, hey, Dr. Math, how do you know, right? How do you know that that 9 is negative and that 3 is positive? Well, you gotta feel it down here, right? In your gut, it's gonna tell you. No, there's no guessing. Check it out. When you FOIL this, you don't even have to FOIL this completely. You don't have to multiply it. But when you multiply those middle terms, you get negative 9p. Multiply those outer terms, you get 3p. Negative 9 and positive 3, that's gonna give me that negative 6 that I want, right? So again, always make sure you look out for little mistakes, right? Because it stinks when you do all this work and you get the wrong answer, right? So just be careful. So let's set each one of those equal to 0. P minus 9 equals 0. P plus 3, set that equal to 0. We're going to add 9 to both sides on our first equation, and we're going to subtract 3 from both sides on our second equation. And we got to check these. And check this out, folks. What happens when I let p equals negative 3 and I plug it right here into my original equation up here? I'm going to get negative 3 plus 3. What's negative 3 plus 3? Perfect. I hear you over there in France. It's 0. Am I allowed to divide by 0? No, right? If you have that Dollar Tree calculator, it's going to blow up. So don't do that. Do not divide by 0. So what we do is we say this is not a solution. Boom, that one must go. So our only answer here is 9. So our only solution is 9. So that's why it's so important to check your work, right? To plug in these solutions to actually make sure that they work, all right? Because not all of them work. There's some liars out there. You gotta watch out. All right, mathletes. So there's example 2. You got me? All right, follow me to example 3. All right, mathletes, example 3. Here we go. First step, make sure everything's factored, right? Can't stress that enough. So that first fraction looks good. I'm just gonna drop it like it's hot, copy it down. That second fraction, notice in the denominator, we could factor out the GCF, which is y. All right, so we'll factor out a y from that second fraction, and that last fraction is good. I can't factor the denominator. All right, once you've done that, identify that, I almost said, I don't know what I was gonna say, LCD, all right? So identify your LCD. And again, we have help here for you in Dr. Math Studios if you're having trouble here. And here's a little pro tip for you, right? Don't go telling all your friends, but here's a pro tip for you. Actually, send them here to Dr. Math Studios. When you're looking for the LCD, right, whatever you multiply by, it better eliminate those fractions. If they don't eliminate the fractions, you didn't find the LCD, all right? You heard it here first, folks. So I'm gonna take this LCD, boom, I'm gonna multiply it here, here, and here, all right? So again, let me squeeze it in here. So I'm gonna multiply this by the LCD, boom, there it is. I'm gonna multiply the second fraction by the LCD, boom, there it is. I'm gonna multiply the last one by the LCD, boom, there it is, right? Again, don't try this alone at home, folks. All right, I'm a trained professional, not just messing with you, right? Pretty easy, right? Nothing crazy. Now, why do we do this? We want to get rid of the fractions, so we got to cancel. So y plus 3, bam, gone. Y and y, gone. Y plus 3, gone, right? It's like those commercials, bam, bam. Those y's, they're gone. So what are we left with? Well, we're left with the y squared. So we got our quadratic, we're left with the 2, and on our right hand side, let me just go ahead and distribute that 6, so we end up with 6y plus 18. All right, you know what to do. This is a quadratic, set one side equal to 0. So let's move this 6y, let's move it to this side, let's subtract this 18, move it to this side, because you want one side equal to 0. Which side? Doesn't matter. Set one of them equal to 0. Write that down, because later on you might get confused. All right, so you're left with y squared minus 6y minus 16 equals 0. Now it's up to you. Can you factor? All right, so let's factor like it's 1999, and you get y minus 8 and y plus 2. All right, and again, factoring is going to be so helpful. So invest a little bit of time, and that's going to make so many other things easier throughout your math career. All right, so now that we found those mother factors, let's go ahead and set each of them equal to 0. So y minus 8, let that equal 0. Y plus 2, let that equal 0. Solve each equation, add 8 to both sides, you get y equals 8. Add 2 to both sides, subtract 2 to both sides, and you get y equals negative 2. Of course, plug them back in, check your answer, and here you're going to end up with negative 2 and negative 8. Those are our two solutions there, right? It's that easy, folks. So follow those 57 steps, and that's it. No, right? So again, it takes time, but be patient. Don't get nervous, because once you get nervous, you start setting yourself up for failure. It just takes time, folks. So before you head out of town here, we made these 3 problems for you, and we want you to comment down below, what did you get for 1? What did you get for 2? What did you get for 3? And let us know what kind of videos you're interested in. And where are you watching from, right? Where are the Dr. Mathletes around the world? Comment down below, we're interested, where are you watching this from? All right, Mathletes, don't forget to subscribe. We talked about smashing that like button, and we want to see you right here in Dr. Math Studios for our next video. All right, peace.